Hey everybody, this is Megan Farrell and this is my Truman Elementary School case study. What I know about my school is that we are one of 8 schools in the district. We house 700 students pre-K through 8th. We have 3 classes per grade, 1 preschool, and the 7th and 8th graders are divided into teams. I have been at the school for 2 years, although I've been in the district longer. We do have a district reading supervisor and a very active PTO. Our students live in a medium-sized Midwestern city. 15% of them qualify for free or reduced lunch, and about 5% have English as not their first language, with Spanish being typically their first language. What I know about my students' achievement is that they are struggling in both reading and math on standardized tests, although the lowest relative score is in reading. Our cohort groups are losing ground as they progress, and grade-to-grade changes are also negative, especially in the lower elementary. What I know is that we've had multiple perspectives. We know that the state sees that there is a need for schools to improve reading achievement. We know that our parents are unhappy with our reading instruction. I have observed classrooms and have questions about what's going on, as well as our district reading supervisor has been in the classroom also. We know that the following are our current practices. Teachers are using our Basel program and following the curriculum. They do spend at least 1 hour a day in language instruction, although it's always in a whole group. Workbook pages are still used. There's no reading or no spelling program, and all of the skills are embedded in the Basel instruction. They're not worked on separately, and there seems to be little discussion of reading strategies. Some things that I need to know, first off, is about data. I need to know how do the number of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch and ESOL students, how do they compare to the district? How do they compare to the state? Do we have a high number, low number, just relatively speaking? Are there any groups that are associated with trends? Is there some group that we can pinpoint on working with? Is there any other assessment data available? How often does my staff analyze data, and do we have any scores that show achievement over a longer period of time? Some things I need to know about my students are, what are the resources that they have available at home? How many attended preschool? What type of learners are they? Are they kinesthetic, visual? Okay. How many are in a class? What specific skills do each of these students have, and what are they lacking? And I'd also want to know about their absentee rate. Teachers, I need to look at how many years of experience overall do they have, as well as in the district, and how many years do they have until retirement. Are they comfortable with data and data analysis? How much training do they have in the current research of reading-based programs? How much training have they had working with ESOL and impoverished students? What type of assessments do they use in their classroom? How comfortable are they with technology, and what access do they have to technology? So my plan of action follows. First, I'd like to form data analysis teams. I'd like to form a reading improvement team. I would then apply for a grant. I would use this grant to purchase research curriculum and resources and to provide appropriate professional development. I would then implement MTSS, and through the school year implement activities that involve the family and the community, and publish a monthly newsletter. First, I would focus on building a data team. This would be at the building level. This would be comprised of an administrator, a teacher per grade level, and the district reading supervisor. We would meet monthly. Our job would be to disaggregate the building data, use it to compare to the district and state data, and just look for trends overall. We would also help the grade level teams out, and they would be reporting to us of their information. And our job would be to report at least quarterly to our stakeholders. Grade level teams would have 1 team per grade. They disaggregate data from their classroom individually, and then they would look at it overall as a grade. They would use the data to progress monitor and address tiers in MTSS and placements of students in those tiers. They would meet at least every 2 weeks, and they would have one person who was on the building team, and that person would report to the building team about their findings. Okay. Would also like to form a reading improvement team, and this would be comprised of the reading supervisor and one team or one teacher from each grade, and it would be a person who's different than on the data team. They need to meet at least weekly and maybe even more often in the beginning stages of the team. Their job would be to survey teachers on needs, trainings, perceptions initially, as well as through our implementation of our new program. Their job would also be to research the current effective reading programs and revise curriculum standards according to that. They would need to visit with successful schools, whether it be in the district or outside of the district, and then using all of that, they would need to propose curriculum and resources that are necessary to implement this new program. The next step after some of the data analysis would be to apply for the grant. And first off, I would need to get approval from the superintendent to make sure that it's okay to proceed. I'd like to meet with other district leaders to see if there was any advantage in having the district apply together. On the application, I would need to emphasize achievement history that shows gaps. Okay. I would also need to emphasize any difference in achievement that we see due to poverty. We would need to show that we have been analyzing data, or that at least we know that it's important and that we're working on doing a better job of that. We need to show that we have researched evidence-based programs, and so that we can show that we have a way that need to go. On the grant, I would be asking for money to buy appropriate curriculum and the resources that are needed to implement that curriculum, as well as additional resources. I would use the money to also provide professional development, to implement quarterly family reading nights that are with the community and the family, as well as purchase supplies to keep the stakeholders informed. The new curriculum and resources that we buy would need to focus on phonemic and phonetic skills at an individual level, not just as a whole group. Reading comprehension, integrated reading and writing. We would want to purchase a lot of books at different reading levels and interests so that all students had access to plenty of things to read. And some classrooms may need enhanced technology to implement some of the programs necessary. I would also use the money to provide professional development. It would have to be ongoing. We can't just have one thing and stop. It would be over the new curriculum as well as our new resources. We would also want to have professional development that helped us work more effectively with our ESOL students and impoverished students and any other group that we identified that had a lower achievement. The professional development would also address data analysis and help our teachers become more comfortable with it, as well as the implementation of MTSS. Next, after professional development, we would need to implement the MTSS, knowing that we're going to need more than an hour every day for language instruction, that this may need disrupt our current schedule, and that we may need to rework it to involve more people. We know that in Tier 1, we'd have to have at least 90 minutes of instruction for everyone, and then those in Tier 2 would need 20 to 30 minutes of additional instruction in small groups or individual, and we'd also need a special education for our 3rd tier. I'd like to implement family reading nights at least quarterly. Different grades would be responsible for helping plan those, but each night would have appropriate activities for all ages K through 8th. Okay. We would invite community members to help out and to involve our community. And at the nights, we would also provide resources and games that they would be able to take home and help with the reading. I would finally publish a monthly newsletter to communicate appropriate data and progress, snapshots of what's happening in the classroom. This would also involve resources for families to use at home, and also maybe give an idea of what's needed at our school that maybe they could help us out with. We know that students deserve a curriculum that can be differentiated. At this time, almost all of the instruction is being done as a whole group, so that does not allow differentiation. The new curriculum would allow students to progress at an individualized pace, whether it be lower than usual or higher than usual. We also know that students need to be taught specific strategies for reading comprehension, such as summarizing, decoding, but most classrooms do not directly teach these strategies, and so that would be one focus of the new curriculum, is direct instruction of reading comprehension strategies. Okay. Also, studies have shown that students don't need stuff. They need more time with language. It can't just be worksheets. It has to be whole language instruction. Although students do get currently at least an hour, effective schools have shown that they use almost half or up to half of a day with language instruction. And that can be included in the science and social studies with reading, writing, but it just needs to be everywhere, not just an hour. As I read through this, I had different thoughts, feelings. Why has it taken so long for this issue to come up? What can be done for the students that are reaching high school as low achievers? Yes, the implementation of a plan will help those, especially those in lower grades, but what about those who are already in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade? What kind of dialogue is taking place between teachers? And what kind of atmosphere is in the school? Is it a cooperation, or is it I'm in my classroom and what I do is my business? That just were some things that came to mind. Some issues that are still open is what happens if the grant is not awarded. There's definitely a problem that's been identified and change needs to be made, but how can that happen without the grant? What about, and the grant's only for K through 4th, so what are some things that we can do to address 5th through 8th specifically? My worry is that the math scores are also low, so what can be done there now that we've looked at it? Or what even better is what can we do to address both problems at once that can help all learners? And what's the attitude of the teachers? Are they going to be willing to make this major shift? If not, is the district willing to take a stand and find a way to take care of that? I believe I showed that I was engaging family and community by listening and reacting to an issue brought up by the PTO, by taking them seriously. This hopefully will continue, and they'll be willing to bring issues that they see to me. I've asked different community members to be involved in the family reading nights. I've provided resources for families to use at home and continually communicated with stakeholders. I've also used data to help by setting up data teams to find trends. I made sure to get multiple perspectives. I implemented a newsletter to help provide resources as well as communicate our progress, and I took the time to apply for the grant. Okay. I showed my knowledge of policies, laws, and regulations by making sure that no students were identified by disaggregated data. The schedule of meetings had to be during the contract day. I got permission to apply for the grant, and I made sure to work with the financial officers to make sure it was used appropriately. And I also showed that I have a commitment to ongoing dialogue. I established a monthly newsletter, and in that there could be a question and answer session or letters, just ways for them to contact me. Involved the community with the family reading night. I worked with the district reading supervisor, and through the grant I had to complete appropriate reports, so all of the state, the district reading supervisor, the families, those are outside the school helping make decisions. Thank you.